Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, the internet, and the like, and welcome back to Team Fortress 2. And welcome to yet another beautiful edition of listening to the hit sound of a man who is quite potentially suffering from a mental breakdown. So while that lovely hit sound is playing in the background, I guess I should explain my reasons for commentating over this video. As you can probably imagine, today I'm playing as the Pyromaniac with the stock flamethrower, the flare gun, and the power jack. Now, it's kind of odd to see me playing Pyro because, for one thing, if you've been around on my channel for long enough, you might know that I rarely play Pyro and Spy. It's not as if I completely ignore them, it's just, I rarely ever find the appeal in ever playing as them. I won't lie that I do sort of enjoy Pyro a bit more than Spy if I had to pick one over the other, just in general about how the class works and how I find their handiness is on the battlefield. But at the same time, I get kind of sick of the Pyro's mechanics after I play as him for a certain amount of time, and I just eventually feel as though I never want to ever consider playing as that class ever again. Different strokes for different folks, I guess you could say. In all honesty, it's just all about my preferences. It's nothing that I have against the Pyro, although there are a few things that make me question the Pyro and his balance over Team Fortress 2 for the past couple of years. And if you couldn't imagine yet, that's pretty much what I want to be talking about in this video. To start off, let's talk about the flare gun for a little bit. The flare gun is the first unlockable secondary weapon added to the game, which is meant to replace the Pyro's default secondary, which is a shotgun. Now, if any of you know the original intentions of why the Pyro was given a shotgun, it was to be used to counter Pyros, basically other Pyros on the other team. Now, some people would say that there are weaknesses now if you come across another Pyro. I fail to see that, because given the fact that the flamethrowers received so many damage buffs over the years, you can just run at other Pyros anyway, you'll eventually kill them. It's true that you're going to take a lot of damage, but chances are if you whipped out a shotgun, the other Pyro is just going to use a flamethrower anyway, and the flames would probably distort your screen a little bit, and just... In all honesty, the shotgun for the Pyro is viewed as a weapon that's just not really worth using. Of all the 4 different flare gun options, the first flare gun that was ever added to the game could be considered a stock Pyro's secondary, if you really want to get technical about things. And then you got the power jack, which allows you to run faster. I consider the power jack to be the best unlockable melee for the Pyros so far, because while the extinguisher used to be the best, it suffers now from nerf-itis. And I'm quite pleased with that suffering because now you don't just suddenly insta-crit targets if they're facing right in front of you. You want to get that full crit, you gotta hit them from behind, which I can appreciate. Now with the power jack, once you whip it out, you run faster. You can't do that with the default fire axe. If you kill someone with it, you gain extra health. You can't do that with the default fire axe. The only downside being, while you do run faster, and while you do gain health from someone if you kill them, you're still going to take 20% extra damage while you're holding the thing out. But comparatively to the fire axe is still a pretty crappy melee weapon with no special attributes. It does random crit, but the power jack also random crits, so in all honesty, you could probably just be using the power jack anyways. Also given the fact that normally, why would you even use melee weapons to begin with? As a pyromaniac, a person who is supposed to get close to other people and then set them on fire with love and joy and rainbows, or however the pyro is depicted these days. Over TF2's evolution over the past couple of years, the Pyro's melee options are significantly, I find, all better than the default fire axe. Sure, some of them can't random crit as far as I know, but still, I don't think I have much to complain about in terms of his melee weapons. They all do something a little bit different, which I can appreciate. Now, the problem with the Pyro is that the argument that stock weapons are the best kind of falls apart in some regions, and this is where people sort of have this split. I don't have a problem with melees. The only problem I have with secondaries is I find the flare gun's critting tendencies to be questionable at times. I think the main point that people want me to discuss here has to be the Degreaser. The comparison of the Degreaser to the default flamethrower, which is better at its job. I personally think that they're both on an even playing field here. With the default flamethrower, you could just run at people and hold down mouse 1. It's not exactly skill, but since the flamethrower does a lot of damage, then you're probably just gonna kill them. You'll get results, as I like to say. With the Degreaser, that's much more of a combo weapon. Since the Pyro has a bunch of crit options already, such as, say for instance, the flare gun, the reserve shooter, the extinguisher, that's one thing that was nerfed recently, I understand, but it still works if you think about it. When you have the Degreaser compared to the default flamethrower, there's no contest that the flamethrower deals more damage by default. With the Degreaser, the reason you combo people is because it deals less damage for one thing, and the afterburn time is about 50% less as far as, and I could be wrong on that, I'm not exactly looking at the stats or a guide right now, all I know is that the Degreaser does less burning damage. I don't think that one is better than the other, and that's saying a lot because the stock weapons are supposed to be the best in TF2, but since both of them have their own jobs to do, I think that there's kind of a balance between this and the Degreaser. It's true that the Degreaser can feel a little cheap at times, but if you're going for the tactic of ambushing people and just lighting them on fire, you're gonna cause some chaos, but you're probably not going to be outputting as much damage as you would like. And that's basically my opinion on the Pyro's weapon options, at least most of his mainstream options. That's why I neglected to talk about other weapons such as the backburner, the flog. I'm pretty sure those can wait for another day. And as you all know, I love the backburner so much. And on that note, thank you guys very much for watching, have a great day or evening, and I guess I will see you in the next video.